Hey everyone, welcome back to Investing Talk Podcast. Today, we're going to be taking a look at Himax Technologies, ticker symbol HIMX.
Oh,
They've been making some serious moves in the tech world, and their stock performance has really been turning heads. So let's find out why investors are so excited about Himax and what their future might hold, especially for those of us who are interested in tech stocks.
you know what's really interesting about Himax? They're not exactly a household name, but they're playing a crucial role behind the scenes in some of the most cutting-edge technologies we're seeing emerge.
Okay, so for those of us who haven't been following Himax closely, what exactly do they do?
Himax specializes in display imaging processing technologies. Think of it as the brains behind how we see images on our screens, and they're a major player in the semiconductor industry, which, as you know, is a pretty big deal these days.
Absolutely. And that booming semiconductor market might help explain why their stock has been on fire lately, up over 43% since February of 2024.
Yeah, it hit a high of $10.02 recently. That kind of growth definitely gets investors' attention.
10.02, that's quite a run. What factors have contributed to such rapid growth? Was there a specific catalyst?
Well, their recent earnings report for the fourth quarter of 2023 was definitely a big win. They beat earnings per share estimates, coming in at 14 cents versus the expected 11 cents. Their revenue also slightly exceeded projections. And even though their revenue did decline in the first quarter of fiscal year 2024, it wasn't as bad as analysts had feared.
So it sounds like they managed to exceed expectations even in a challenging market. What helped them weather the storm better than anticipated?
It seems their automotive sector is showing strong growth, and that helped offset some of the losses they experienced elsewhere. But here's where things get even more interesting for investors. Himax is well positioned to capitalize on several major tech trends that are really just starting to take off.
Okay, I'm all ears. What trends are we talking about here?
We're talking about the explosion of augmented reality and virtual reality, the increasing use of AI-driven technologies, and the growing demand for advanced display tech in cars. Think about it. All these advancements require sophisticated display and imaging solutions, which is exactly where Himax excels.
With all these advancements, do you think Himax is just benefiting from industry trends, or are they actively shaping the future of display tech?
They're definitely not just passive bystanders. They're actively innovating and developing new solutions that could really push the boundaries of what's possible. For example, they've partnered with Columino to develop advanced thermal sensors. And this partnership is particularly intriguing because Columino specializes in a unique type of thermal sensor technology that's extremely sensitive and energy efficient. This could open up a whole range of possibilities for Himax, from improved AR/VR experiences to more sophisticated automotive safety
It
features.
sounds like they're not just keeping up, they're actually pushing the envelope. What else is in their pipeline? I heard they're planning to unveil some pretty exciting new technologies at CES 2025.
That's right. CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, is where companies go to showcase their latest and greatest innovations. And Himax is planning to make a splash with their new palm vein authentication technology. This biometric security solution could revolutionize how we interact with devices and protect our sensitive information. They're also planning to introduce a new LCOS microdisplay solution. LCOS stands for Liquid Crystal on Silicon, and it's a high-resolution, high-contrast display technology that's perfect for applications like AR/VR headsets.
So we've got strong earnings, strategic partnerships, and a pipeline full of cutting-edge tech. No wonder investors are getting excited about Himax. But is there anything else fueling this buzz?
Well, there's been a lot of speculation that Himax might become a supplier for TSMC, the Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing company.
TSMC, that's a giant in the semiconductor world. What would a partnership like that mean for Himax?
It could be absolutely massive for their growth. TSMC is a leading-edge chip manufacturer, and they're pushing the boundaries in areas like silicon photonics and something called COUPE technology.
Okay, for those of us who aren't chip experts, could you explain what those technologies are and why they're such a big deal?
Absolutely. Silicon photonics basically involves using light to transmit data within chips, which can significantly increase speed and efficiency. COUPE technology, or chip-on upgraded packaging with enhanced performance, is a way of packaging multiple chips together to create more powerful and complex systems. If Himax becomes a supplier for TSMC in these areas, it would be a major validation of their technology and could open up huge new markets for them.
So we've got this company hitting all the right notes: strong performance, innovative technology, and the potential for some seriously big partnerships. What's Wall Street saying about all of this? Are analysts as bullish on Himax as investors seem to be?
Analyst firm Robert W. Baird certainly is. They recently upgraded their rating on Himax to outperform and significantly increased their price target from $7 to $15. That's a pretty strong vote of confidence.
That's a significant jump. Are there any analysts who are less optimistic about Himax's prospects?
Well, like with any investment, there are always some differing opinions. Some analysts are concerned about the competitive landscape, especially with giants like Apple and Meta entering the AR/VR space. But overall, the sentiment seems to be quite positive.
Okay, so where's the stock trading right now?
As of today, the stock is trading at $9.55. It's well above both its 50-day and 200-day simple moving averages, which sit at $7.29 and $6.48 respectively. These moving averages are technical indicators that many investors use to gauge the overall trend of a stock. The fact that Himax is trading well above these averages suggests that the stock is in a strong uptrend.
But doesn't all this positive news mean the stock is getting a little pricey? Could it be overvalued at this point?
That's a great question, and it brings us to an important indicator called the 14-day Relative Strength Index, or RSI.
Could you explain what the RSI is and why it's important?
Of course. The RSI is a momentum oscillator that measures the magnitude of recent price changes to evaluate overbought or oversold conditions in the price of a stock or other asset. The RSI oscillates between 0 and 100. Traditionally, and according to Wilder, RSI is considered overbought when above 70 and oversold when below 30. Right now, Himax's RSI is at 71.53, which suggests that the stock might be getting a bit overbought.
Overbought. Does that mean we should be hitting the brakes on Himax?
Not necessarily. We need to look at the big picture. Himax has a lot going for it right now, but it's important to be aware of the potential risks as well.
So after weighing all these factors, what's the recommendation? What advice would you give to someone considering adding Himax to their portfolio?
Based on our analysis, the current recommendation is a cautious hold.
Cautious hold, what does that mean for our listeners? Should they be buying, selling, or just sitting tight?
Well, for those who already own HIMX, the strong uptrend and all the positive developments we've discussed suggest holding onto your shares for now, but it's important to keep in mind that high RSI, it means a short-term pullback is possible.
So buckle up, it could be a bit of a bumpy ride.
Exactly. The market can be unpredictable, especially in the fast-paced world of tech.
And what about for those who are thinking about investing in Himax for the first time? Is now a good time to jump in?
If you're a new investor looking to get in on the Himax action, you might want to wait for a dip in the price. The current price is a bit high, given that overbought signal. But with a little patience, you might be able to snag some shares at a better entry point.
All right, so we've covered the nuts and bolts of Himax's business, their financials, and what the analysts are saying. But let's step back for a moment and talk about the big picture. Where does Himax fit into the overall tech landscape, and what are the key factors that will determine their success in the long run?
That's a great question. You can't just look at Himax in isolation. You need to understand how they fit into the whole tech ecosystem. Let's take their work in augmented reality and virtual reality, for example. This market is poised for explosive growth, but it's also incredibly competitive.
You've got giants like Apple and Meta throwing their hats into the ring, not to mention countless startups vying for a piece of the pie.
Exactly. So the question becomes, can Himax carve out a sustainable niche for themselves in this crowded market? Will they be a key player in supplying the components that power these next-generation devices, or will they get squeezed out by the bigger players?
It's a bit like a David versus Goliath situation, with Himax facing off against giants like Apple and Meta.
Yeah.
Do you think they have what it takes to hold their own?
I think they have a real shot. They've got a strong track record of innovation. They're developing some truly cutting-edge technologies, and they're forming strategic partnerships that could give them a competitive edge, but it's definitely going to be a challenge.
And then you have the automotive sector, which is rapidly evolving with the rise of electric vehicles and autonomous driving.
Right, and Himax is right there in the thick of it, developing the display and imaging technology that will be crucial for these vehicles. But again, the competition is fierce. They'll need to stay ahead of the curve to succeed.
This raises an important question: how adaptable is Himax? Can they keep pace with these rapid changes in technology and consumer demand?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's something you as an investor need to consider carefully. Look at their track record, their investments in research and development, and their ability to form partnerships that give them access to new markets and technologies. These are all clues to their long-term adaptability.
So we've talked a lot about the potential risks. But what about the potential rewards? What are some of the things that could really drive Himax's growth and make them a winning investment?
Well, if they can successfully navigate these challenges and capitalize on these emerging trends, the upside could be significant. Imagine if they do become a key supplier for TSMC, or if their AR and VR tech takes off in a big way.
Those are some pretty big ifs.
Yeah.
But if those ifs turn into reality,
Their stock price could skyrocket. We're talking about potentially huge
of
returns.
course, it's important to remember that investing always comes with risk. There are no guarantees, and things could certainly go differently than we've outlined here.
Absolutely. No one has a crystal ball. And there's always the possibility that things won't go as planned. That's why it's crucial to do your research, understand the company, the industry, and the potential risks involved.
So what does all this mean for our listeners?
Hmm?
How should they be thinking about Himax as a potential investment?
Well, it all comes down to your individual risk tolerance and investment goals. If you're comfortable with a bit of risk and you believe in the long-term potential of these technologies, Himax could be a good addition to your portfolio. But if you're more risk-averse, you might want to wait for a better entry point or consider other investment options.
The bottom line is Himax is a company with a lot of promise, but also a healthy dose of uncertainty.
Exactly. They're at the forefront of some truly exciting innovations, and if they can execute their strategy effectively, I think they could be a real force to be reckoned with. But the tech world is constantly evolving, and there are no guarantees. The best any investor can do is stay informed, do their due diligence, and invest wisely.
It definitely sounds like Himax is a company worth keeping on your radar, especially if you're interested in the future of display technology and the companies that are shaping it.
I agree, they're operating in some truly exciting and transformative areas, but as with any investment, there's always an element of risk.
Exactly. There are no guarantees in the stock market.
And that's what makes it so fascinating, trying to analyze these trends, evaluate the companies, and make informed decisions. It's all part of the challenge.
Well, on that note, we've reached the end of our look at Himax Technologies.
Hopefully, you now have a better understanding of this intriguing company and its place in the ever-evolving world of technology.
We've covered a lot of ground today, but this is just the starting point. We've given you the overview. Now it's up to you to dig deeper.
Do your own research, stay informed, and most importantly, invest wisely. That's the key to success in the market.
And if you enjoyed this episode of Investing Talk Podcast, be sure to subscribe and leave us a comment with your thoughts on Himax Technologies. Do you think they're a buy or hold, or are you staying away? We'd love to hear your take.
And don't forget to share this episode with your friends and fellow investors.
Until next time, happy investing.